Today's guest has been writing since she was 8 years old. She's a Reiki's master, meditation and mindful facilitator, yoga teacher, and author of a new book titled Old Space: Affirmations and Meditations for Healing and Loving Yourself. Welcome to the show, Michelle. How are you doing?
Thank you, Toby. I am doing great today. It has been a bumpy week. Um, a lot of people have been saying the same, like
Mm,
kind of up and down emotionally.
yeah.
But today is actually a good day.
Mm. Wait,
How about you?
does it have to be? I'm doing. I'm also doing fine. Like I've been looking forward to speaking to you all week already. So I'm so grateful that we finally have the time and the space to sit and talk virtually since all these months that we've been planning this already. But can you explain this to me? Like having a bumpy week and it has to be it's something that's or common to everybody. Does that have to do with any energy factor or anything going on or what's that?
I don't know what is the energy factor because there's other times where I'm not super into astrology, but people
Mm.
could say, oh, it's Mercury retrograde or this planet is doing this, and it's like, oh, okay. But this week, I don't know. A lot of my clients have been very emotional. A lot of my students have been very emotional, and the emotion that is threading through everybody that I'm speaking to is sadness. And I wonder if part of it is like the weather and the
Mm,
dark times are coming. The longer nights instead of all the sunshine.
yeah.
Possibly it's that, but yeah, it's been kind of an emotional week. And today I woke up and felt like, all right, I'm smiling. So good.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, sometimes I also feel that way too, like emotional, but like you said, waking up smiling, I always try my best to be intentional, to be, grateful for every breath I breathe. So I wake up and I'm just thankful and try to play some lively music. And that way I go through my day with music actually when I'm feeling down. And I just feel better throughout with music or podcasts and just conversations that just boost my mood every time. Yeah. That helps me a lot. Yes.
Yeah, me too. Music is like that, it just hits your soul. I mean,
Mm.
when I have to do any kind of cleaning, the work that you don't like to do, like cleaning, I have to find the right playlist to get
Yes,
me motivated. So I
of
agree
course.
with you.
And before you know it, you're just
Yeah.
dancing around and just doing the chore you don't want to do.
Yes.
Yes. So I'm really grateful that you're on this podcast today for this episode. Like, I find it so fascinating that you have been writing since the age of 8. Like, that's so awesome. Like, writing and first with picture books, and later you said, I read that, you got a typewriter and all that. Like, I really find that interesting. Can you share this story with me? How did you start, writing? What brought up all of this writing, and how has the journey been since then to becoming the Reiki master, and becoming a yoga teacher, becoming an author, and more that you do, everything that you do?
It kind of was a big round arc of a path. I tend to take the hard way, the
Mm,
hard path.
yeah.
People say take the high road. I don't know. I'm taking the detour.
Mm,
So when I was a kid, I used to draw all the time, and I like to make up characters and kind of act them out. And around the age of 8, when of course we're learning how to put together sentences and write and read, I started putting words to my drawings and making little stories and then stapling those pages together and hand them out to my family.
mm,
And then, as you read in my book, that my grandmother used to take us to yard sales and garage sales when we were kids, and there was a typewriter, and to me it was gorgeous. It had a case, and it was like this blue green color, and I was like, please grandma, please. And so she bought it
yeah.
and said, you better use this, and I did. I used it all the time, and it in the case it had this little pocket, and I used to put all my books in it, and
Mm,
and it was something I did a lot of. And then life happened. And I kind of fell away from it from time to time. Um, in my early teens, I got into poetry and then started writing like fiction again, and then in college poetry, and then a very long break. But in between there, trying to figure out what you want to do, I went and got an English degree for writing, um, which is the degree that you can do anything and nothing with. And along the way, I kind of discovered Reiki and yoga. First yoga. Um, when my husband and I got engaged, we were like, we're joining a gym, we're getting in shape, we're joining a gym. Um, so I tried the weights, I tried the bikes, I tried the classes. I hated everything except yoga. And that yoga teacher, we stuck with it after the wedding, and she said, "Michelle, you should become a yoga teacher." And both my husband and I did yoga teacher training together. Um, but it felt like home. The first yoga class felt like home, and it taught me a lot about grounding and being in tune with your body and your breath and help stress relief.
Yeah.
And that led me to Reiki because someone that was in our training was a Reiki practitioner, and she did a session on me, and it was beautiful. And she said, "You're a healer. Your hands are on fire."
Wow.
And yeah, and she said, "You were giving back to me." And I said, "Okay, well, what do I do with that?" And I said, Can you teach me?" And she said, "Oh, no, I'm not a master yet." I said, "Okay." And I just put it on a back burner. Um, and then my husband got sick with cancer, and he started seeing a Reiki master, and she was working with him, and the tumor was shrinking before he even started chemo, which we can't promise that that happens, but it did. And so I said, "You have to teach me this. Like, it's time. You're my teacher. I have found you." Um, and voila, I kind of found myself. And this is what I do now. And it kind of all made sense um, until the writing kind of was still on this back burner, and people telling me, "When are you going to start writing again?" Or even my spirit guides would say, "It's time to write." Like if I had a session with somebody else, they would say, your guides say you have to write.
Mm.
So when the pandemic hit, I realized you have no excuse about time anymore. You have all this extra time. It's time to start. And a friend of mine was like, "Hey, I'm taking this writing intensive and it's all about accountability." And I said, "I'm in." And that was it. I joined the class. I didn't watch one of the training videos, but I
Mhm.
committed to writing every day and
Yes.
got it done.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's so beautiful. So you brought out the typewriter again and you started typing on your typewriter. Oh, how did that go?
I'm sorry.
Yes, I was just trying to catch when I was like so you brought back your typewriter and you
Yes.
started typing again, or did you get a laptop this time around to
Well,
write?
this time around it's on a laptop. Yeah.
Okay, but
um,
do you still have the typewriter like to keep and save and?
my it's still at my parents' garage. So yeah, it still exists. I do hope for a reunion someday, but it's somewhere buried in a box somewhere.
Mm.
Um, but a couple of years ago, my dad actually found all of my handwritten books.
Wow.
So yeah, I went through those a couple of years ago, and there's some good stuff. It needs some work, but it's some good starts. Yeah.
For a second book, for example.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, that's so great. So can you educate me on Reiki? Like, what does it mean and how does it work? And how do I find it so amazing that it worked on your husband to reduce the tumor even before he started chemotherapy. That is so amazing. So I really want to know how it works and what it is like. Can you educate me on this?
Sure. So I think the easiest way to explain it for me is to say that we are all energetic beings. We all have energy. We're all made of the same stardust, right? And we all have this kind of, um, we can call it a light inside us. And that light energy exists in the universe. Plants have this light energy that we can't see, but it exists.
Mm,
And Reiki is that light energy. And when a practitioner or a Reiki master channels this energy, it's more intensive, and it goes through their body, out of their hands to you, whether you're in person or at a distance. It can be sent wherever it's directed. It could cross over space and time.
wow.
And that energy goes into your body and kind of finds wherever things are out of balance or things are not you, like you're holding on to someone else's judgment or you're holding on to something that has manifested as pain or illness.
Mm.
And it kind of realigns that stuff and just makes you more you, like the truest version, the best possible version of you.
Yeah.
And it doesn't happen all at once in one session. It's not magic. It's not like a magic wand that just fixes everything, but it definitely brings you more into alignment. And also, because it does that, it helps us, whoever's receiving, it helps to make you realize who you are and want to be more of that.
Mm. Wow. So how does it work with, energy healing? Like, are there like some techniques to it, or how can we even practice it in order to get all of these benefits and the energy healing that it gives?
Sure. So, Reiki, there are Reiki trainings. It's 3 levels. There's an introductory, where it's most about working on yourself. So, I personally believe that everyone should. I hate the word should, but everyone should learn Reiki level 1 so that they have that tool because it helps reduce stress. It helps you relax, and again, it helps you find yourself in the big picture and then the long term. And then there's level 2 where you learn how to start working on other people and you also learn distance Reiki to send it to anyone, anywhere. And then the third level is master level. So that's what I am as a master. So when you become a master, you practice on other people, but you also can teach. And but there are techniques of energy that people can do themselves, like breath is energy. And the ancient yogis believe that that is the life force energy is breath. So some simple techniques, and they're in my book too,
Yeah.
of how to calm yourself or balance yourself with just breath.
Mm. Wow. And because this has to do with, energy, one has to be very careful. So are there like some do's and don'ts, like some rules and regulations to this in order not to misuse the techniques or to, do anything that we mess up the energy?
Right, right. Yes. So that's actually a really good point. Reiki itself is 100% pure. Um, it's unconditional life force energy,
Mm.
meaning that be um, it cannot be affected by negative energy. It cannot draw negative energy in with it. It can only dispel negative energy. And of course, there's all kinds of energy out in the universe. But anyone who tries to misuse Reiki, it just like the laws of the universe, I guess, will not allow it to happen. So it can only be used for the highest good. Whereas there may be other energies that people use. We won't mention any names of them, but um, that are not always for the highest good.
Mm. And you said, the first level or the first step or the first one that and the first type of Reiki can be done by everybody. Like everyone should be able to do that. So can you like teach me how to do this? Is there like are there some, for example, you said breathing is a form of Reiki also, like, energy, because breathing is like fundamental or the most important source of energy. But are there like, like the basic first level, first step, baby beginners techniques that one can learn, or like you just teach us quickly?
So it's not something I can teach quickly. It's like a 1 day class, and it's an attunement, and there's like a kind of a cleanse that you do leading up to it of like kind of reduce or cut out caffeine and sugar and meat and yeah, just to get
Oh,
yourself prepped for it. So it's
yeah.
not something I can teach here, but I can teach some breathing techniques or even kind of mindfulness that we can work because those are also things that help us kind of realign and
Mm.
rebalance with ourselves.
Wow. But that means I think the best thing for us to do, or for listeners out there who are interested, is to sign up for your course, which is available on your website. I'm going to place the link in the show notes of this episode. So they could sign up for your courses, for your sessions, and get across to you and, maybe try out the first level or the basic level of Reiki and see if it's, it's useful to them, which would be useful to them, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. And I teach online as well, and it's live on Zoom. And I have had students from around the world that have taken the class, which is great. I mean, that is something that I used to not do, except for special circumstances. And now once COVID hit, everything went online. So kind of
Mm.
a new benefit to people out anywhere in the world that need to learn.
Yes, yes, that's great. I'm looking forward to this already, and I'm so excited, to be even to be talking to you right now about your new book. I would love to say, congratulations on your new book.
Thank
It's
you.
awesome. It's a wonderful gift that you've given to the world, and I love the title to hold space, affirmations and meditations for healing and loving yourself. It's available now on Amazon. It's available in Barnes and Noble. It's available on I think on Ingram Spark also, and some any outlets that will also come out later. All of this information are also available in the show note of this episode and on the website of Michelle, and you could just click on them and order the book and get the book. But before you click on the link, I would love Michelle to tell us about the book. What motivated you to write this book of self empowerment and self love?
So a lot of my clients come in. A lot of people find Reiki when they're suffering and they feel hopeless and like nothing else out in the world is helping them. So they come to me. Some people who have PTSD, sometimes severe, and they can't just come for one session and then they're done. Like they have a lot of work to do because it's taken a lot of years to get to this point.
Mm,
So a lot of times I would write an affirmation for them to use in between sessions because you can't come do Reiki every day. It's not affordable to do and it's hard. That's why I like for everybody to learn Reiki one because then you can work on yourself.
yes.
But if you can't, then I would give affirmations to my clients to work on. And they always told me how powerful they were and how much they helped them, and they would put it on their on their phones so they could always see it,
Mm,
their lock screen. So if they were feeling upset, they could just shake their phone and look at it
yes.
and read it out. So I had a whole stack of affirmations, and some of them were very personal, and some of them were a little more universal. So I would share them on social media, and I intended, this could be a book. And I have a lot of book ideas always in my head that all the years I've been like, I'm going to write that book someday. So finally, when it came time and COVID hit, and I said, I'm going to write the book, I said to myself, the most um, universal and universally available and desperately needed book is the book with affirmations, because that everyone can benefit from.
Yes.
And as I was writing, I started realizing the different areas of pain and imbalance that people experience. And so the chapters included different things that people might need, like forgiveness or mommy issues, daddy issues, inner
Yes.
child work, so
Yeah.
um, shadow work. So there's a lot of different topics in there
Mm,
um, that cover a big spectrum of what we struggle with in life,
yeah.
and particularly in adulthood. We're trying to heal the stuff that happened to us in childhood.
Mm.
So that was how it came about.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Like I was going through your website on the page where you wrote about the book. I saw this quote from you. You wrote that whoever you are, and no, I said you said sorry, you said whoever you are, no matter your gender, your race, or background, how powerful it is when someone says, "I got you." It's you deeply to know that someone is holding space for our well-being. That's sounds so great. It's awesome that you have this you have this peace of mind, or you have this assurance that someone has your back, that someone is there fighting for your well-being, and this book, Old Space, provides this kind of affirmations and meditations that helps us to even, fight for our own well-being, and also gives us affirmations and gives us this kind of tools and gives us this kind of weapons that we could use to fight for our own healing and for our own freedom from shame and guilt, for example, like you wrote in some chapters of the book. And I was reading through like the praises of people that have gone through the book already, that have read the book, and I was like, wow, so amazed. Like it truly works. The way you narrated your story, you use your personal story. I find it very great that you shared your own personal experience also, like even having the suicidal thought from the age of 10 and all that. I don't know if you would love to share this story with me and how your healing journey, your own personal healing journey has been since then.
Yeah, so I felt it was important to share a little bit about where I'm coming from, because who am I, this new writer that you don't know, like where did they get off saying these things?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I had 86% of us come from a dysfunctional family of some sort.
Mm.
So I had some struggles. I was a middle child. I was a sickly child. Um, and yeah, definitely had some pretty deep, dark thoughts from age 10. Um, and I am a child of the 80s, so nobody went to therapy back then. Nobody talked about their problems,
That's true.
and you just stuck it and stuffed it and kept going.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, so then in college, I don't know if I want to get into this, but I'll say trigger alert. Um, I was sexually assaulted in college, and um, I hit rock bottom, my rock bottom of depression. And I had friends who were like, "We're going to psych services," and I was like, "No, I'm fine." And they're like, "You haven't gotten out of bed in days."
Mm.
So they took me to psych services, and the healing began. And it was really that I don't want to say that the pain that I went through was the righteous, but the gift of therapy at that time was not just healing of that one event, but it helped me start the healing of my own past,
Mm.
and then sent me on this trajectory of finding other ways to heal myself, and through therapy and yoga and Reiki. And I think we are always potentially getting better. I don't ever feel like that. I have had clients who say, when is it done? Like, when am I done with this fight? And I feel like we're not done until it's time to go.
We're never
Um,
done.
yeah,
Mm.
and even then, right, exactly. We may come back again in another body and do it over again too. So, yeah, and I think there is there's beauty in the breaks and cracks and imperfections that we have, and the scars, right? So when we
Yes.
heal, there is beauty in those scars, like that means something. Many women who have had C-sections, me included, that scar is a reminder of my babies got here. Like they came and they had to come out this way, and that's my battle scars,
Mm.
and I'm proud of it. So in my book, I actually thank my past for helping me get to where I am, because I could have thrown in the towel, you know, in my early years, but I didn't. I kept fighting, and I recognize that kind of that paid forward. I made it, and now I want to help other people with with their healing,
Mm.
and offer some ways that have helped me along the way.
That's so wonderful. I don't want it to seem as if I'm singing too much songs of praises, but I really appreciate your strength. I admire your strength and your ability not to throw in the towel and say, "Yeah, I'm done for." But you picked yourself up from the bed after being sexually assaulted, and you made everything. You turned your whole experience of the past into something wonderful to help other people out of their darkness. Also, thank you so much for your strength and for pulling through, for seeing the light at the end of the tunnel and moving towards that, and healing yourself and helping other people to heal
Thank
also.
you.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's why your book is so wonderful, because it's filled with so much phrases, words, like you said already, and practical habits that helps us to tackle, life biggest obstacles, like you already shared from your story already. So is it possible for you to, like, give us like some secret or some tips from the book for those who are yet to buy the book? Like, can you share some of these, or can you teach us some of these habits that we could use to tackle life biggest obstacles? And how can we hold space for ourselves and for our healing?
Great question. Great question. So my first go-to of when I am feeling out of balance is always breath. Um, Yoga, I'm so glad I learned yoga first because it helps me get grounded. Because back in my, college years, I thought that yoga and Reiki were this really like woo woo out there kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, but as I got older and then actually did yoga, I realized how great it was. So the first thing that I go to is breath, because a lot of people say they can't meditate, they don't know how to meditate. So breath is the first place to go because breath is a meditation. It's an active meditation. So my favorite breath is what I call balanced breathing, but it has become this boxed breathing that's trending. That's the
Mhm.
name that's trending now. And it's basically breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4, and hold out for 4. Would you like us to do it together?
Yes, please, let's try it together.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4. Hold out, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4. Hold out, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Go back to your normal breath.
Wow. I felt like relieved, like for that few minutes, seconds that we did that. Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't take much. It really doesn't take much to bring yourself back to center.
Mm,
Um, and that is one that you can kind of do anywhere, and
yeah.
it's easy to remember. I
Mm,
like to say do 4 rounds of it because it's all about the fours. So
mm,
you're kind of making it into a cube instead of a square.
yeah.
Um, but it's very helpful. Gratitude work, you mentioned starting your day with gratitude.
Yes.
Gratitude is such a fabulous way to really start your day. And um, I'd love to talk about that for a second.
Yes, please.
Because it's November and everybody's talking about gratitude. And I started a gratitude challenge and wanted to put it out there for people
Mm,
that I literally used to in my early 20s when I would struggle with um, liking myself,
yeah.
forget about loving myself. So I would say, okay, pick 3 things. This is literally the thing I did. Pick 3 things that you like about yourself.
Mm,
And at the time of the age of our early 20s, we're kind of superficial. So I would look in the mirror and I'd be like, I like my eyes, I like my hair, and I like my ass. And those were the 3 things that I would
mm,
focus on. But I liked them about myself. Therefore, it became this thing when I would start my day that way, looking in the mirror and say that I actually liked myself
mm,
for the day.
yes.
And even some people would compliment, like, "Oh, your hair looks so pretty today," or
Mm,
one day I switched it up and said my eyebrows, and I got compliments on my eyebrows, which people don't compliment eyebrows
mm,
usually. So I was like, this is something.
Yes.
Um, so I think when we could pick something we're grateful for, sometimes about ourselves, if we're feeling down about ourselves, to focus in on ourselves. And if we're just starting the day and like, oh my God, the world is terrible, what do you like about the world? Kind of
Mhm.
change up the negative into a positive, and not in a toxic positive way, but recognizing, yeah, the world may seem like it sucks, but there are little good things in the world too.
That's true. I mean, I can totally relate with that, especially about the body part also. Like I'm in my late 20s, and I can, relate to that already also. Like, yes, it's true. 100% correct. Like, I also started that also myself, like being grateful for my eyes. That's one of the body parts that I can relate to with you right now. So I just, in the morning when I'm being grateful, I say, oh, I thank God. I'm grateful for I thank God for my, you know, um, my attractive eyes, for example. And between before I know it, like in some months or some time, I just started noticing people complimenting my eyes. I was like, oh, really? Because before I used to find it so puffy and just awkward and stuff like that. But then I just intentionally started just being thankful for my eyes and some other body parts. and
Yes.
and started getting compliment for it. And like, oh, you're looking so good. You're looking handsome. I'm like, oh, me, handsome. They're not in the same equations actually, but from time after being grateful for it over a long period of time, it started coming to me. Like I attracted it to myself, I would say, through gratitude. Yeah,
Yes,
it works.
exactly,
It does work.
exactly. And that is the power of attraction, right? The law of attraction or
Mm,
manifestation is all about that. It's
yes,
what you put out into the world that attracts it back.
that's true. That's true. And I'm so happy that we are talking about this also. Like that's one of the habits that one could, practice in order to hold space for oneself in this world actually. And also for healing. So one could be grateful for whatever healing that one wants in his or her life also.
Right, right,
Yes. So
exactly.
I want us to like talk about something that I was seeing your book and I've been hearing about it a lot. But I love you to enlighten me on this, and that is chakras. Like, can you teach me the different kinds of chakras? I was reading about there's one that stood out to me was the heart chakra in your book, and I would love you to talk about the different kinds that you listed there and also their importance.
Sure. So the root chakra, there's seven chakras. It goes with the color the in within the body. Seven chakras within the body. There are other chakras that are attached to your soul, but not within the body. But we're just going to talk about the seven primary chakras. And they go with the colors of the rainbow: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. So the Roy G. Biv, if you learned that method
Mm,
of remembering the colors. So it starts, the first chakra is the root chakra. It is at the base of the spine, and it is the color red generally, and it is related to our safety, our security, our place in the world, and also for groundedness. Usually there is a basic affirmation that goes with each chakra, like root chakra is I am safe.
mm,
The second chakra is the sacral chakra, which is the lower belly, or for women, it's kind of the reproductive area. So it's below the navel,
yeah.
and that is a color orange. And that has to do with our creative source, our like creative energy source. So it is kind of what we put into the world, even what we put of ourselves into the world, because it's this, when we create, we're always putting something of ourselves into the creation. So it's beyond just creative power. It's kind of part of who we are,
Mm,
in an identity way. And then the next chakra is above the navel, and it's kind of across the lungs and the solar plexus, and that is the color yellow, and that has to do with our self confidence and our willpower and our belief in ourselves. And then the heart chakra
mm,
is green in the way of the rainbow. It's the color green, but a lot of people refer to it as pink because pink is this universal color of love.
yes.
And it is all about love for yourself, love for others, compassion. It's all the different kind of facets of love.
Mm,
And loving yourself is probably the biggest part of that, because I mean, we always hear this, right? That if you don't love yourself, you can't love other people. If you don't love
Exactly.
yourself, you're not going to attract the love that you need. You're going to
Mm.
attract the love that you feel for yourself.
Yeah.
Um, and then the next one is the throat chakra, which is blue.
Mm.
And the throat chakra is about um, our expression, usually emotional expression. So it has to do with, it does go hand in hand, in my opinion, with the sacral chakra because we have creative and then we have expression. So if one of them is out of balance, the other one usually is too.
Mm.
And then the third eye is the indigo one, and that is your intuition, your connection to the beyond or the psychic abilities, but it also regulates our sleep. And the last one is the crown chakra, and that is at the top of the head, and that is considered violet. And that is these two kind of work together with you connecting with your intuition, your higher self. Um, if if you believe in the divine heaven, that is your connection to that.
Yeah. And how can we like, explore it, explore these chakras and make use of them to, to get the full benefit out of them?
I love to do visualization as well as breath with working the chakras because we can rebalance them ourselves with just breath and visualization. So if we kind of close our eyes and breathe into the lowest part of our lungs, we can kind of imagine that the breath is going down to the base of the spine
Mm.
and see. Now, not everybody can see and visualize, but we can imagine that there is a red glowing light down at the base of our spine.
Mm.
And I like to, like I said, add affirmations, little short ones. So breathing into the bottom of the spine and saying, I am safe.
I am safe.
And just stay there and breathe and sit with it for a little bit.
Mhm.
And then imagining the space below the navel and breathing into that space and seeing the color orange and saying to yourself, I am creative.
I am creative. Mm.
And then moving up into that lung capacity, your full lung capacity of the solar plexus, and seeing yellow, and just breathing in and out of that space and saying to yourself, I am confident.
I am confident.
And then I like to encourage you to put your hands over the heart space and breathing into the center of the heart, even not the side of the left, but the energetic heart, which is right in the middle.
Mhm.
And just keep breathing in. And this one I like to do three. I am lovable.
I am lovable.
I am loved.
I am loved.
I am love.
I am love.
And if you're visual, you may see the green or the pink or both. And then in your mind, go up to the throat and imagine a blue glowing light there.
Mm.
And the affirmation is I speak my truth.
I speak my truth.
And then as we move up to the third eye, it's indigo or a deep purple blue. And imagine that colorful light just filling up the headspace. And the affirmation is I am intuitive.
I am intuitive.
And then all the way up at the top of the head, the crown,
Mm.
with a violet or a violet white or violet silver colored light. And the affirmation is purely I am.
I am.
You just take a nice deep breath all the way in, as deep as you can, and breathe out completely, emptying your lungs completely. And just be aware of your body, mind, and soul connecting and balancing. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
One could keep on practicing this over and over to, yes. Well, this is so balancing, I would say. Like it calms one's mind down a little bit, connects everything together, aligns everything together. And wow, this is I'm so thankful. I hope everyone who is listening to this also could also practice alongside, and yeah, and maybe pause it and practice all over again and over again. And yes, and if you need any further help, you could contact Michelle on our website, and every information is in the show note of this episode. You could just click on them and book a section to get more explanation and to learn more about this. This is so
Yes,
beautiful. It's so beautiful.
thank you.
But I would still love to dig deeper into your book. Like as I said
Sure.
earlier, chapter 7 of the book. Like if nobody knows what chapter 7 is, you have to get the book to know what chapter 7 is. But I would say it's about, you wrote about, embracing our lights, our dark and shade of gray. And we have to do this in order to gain freedom from guilt and shame, and also to reclaim our power, as I understood. So, but for us to do this, I understood that or I understand that we have to do some shadow work exercise. And this is also related to like mirror walk or mirror talk. And this sounds so interesting to me because this podcast is called Mirror Talk Podcast. So can you explain this to me? Can you explain this shadow work exercise to me? What's it about? How does it work? What are the steps to it?
So there are multiple techniques
Mm,
to do your shadow work, but regarding the mirror one, um, as we talked about earlier with kind of embracing the physical things we like about ourselves is so easy. But when we look into the mirror and go deeper into our soul, if you think about it, when we look in the mirror in the morning and we're having a bad day, we see that in our face, in our eyes. And outside world may not, but we know things about ourselves and we can see that. So the
yes.
shadow work with the mirror is diving into that depth of the feeling, right?
Mm,
Of or like imposter syndrome, for example, and that we think that that we're just faking it in the world and everybody sees another side of ourselves. So
yeah.
the shadow work is going into those places where we think we're not enough or we're
Mm,
not good enough or that we don't like about ourselves and sitting with it
mm,
and finding sometimes it's about finding the source of where it came from and giving forgiveness to that time, space, or person.
yeah.
And other times it's about embracing our inner child and literally imagining that we're seeing our inner child in that mirror and loving that person, that little person that didn't deserve whatever happened to them or what mean things were told to them that they believed that we still believe.
Yes. Well, can't that be dangerous? Or, I mean, going to those dark places, or, as I said, shadow, can't, sometimes I feel like, oh, we could feel trapped in that, that era or that moment of our lives, when we visit all those unfavorable conditions or situations that we had to experience in the past. It could, dig up some things that we've buried for so long. And yeah, are there like, ways to ensure that we are able to visit those situations or those moments or those people in our lives, sit with them and come out, better and stronger, without being, worse than ever before, than when we forgot about everything.
Yeah. I mean, it's so easy for us to believe that, well, you know what it is? It's fear.
Mm,
So when we let fear rule, right? When we go into it with fear,
yeah,
it does feel like it can hurt us all over again.
yeah,
But when we go into it with love and compassion, Like with the want to heal, I really want to heal.
Mm,
I love myself. I want to love myself more.
mm,
That when we do that and sit with it, that whatever that thing is of the past, it truly can't hurt us anymore
mm.
when we come at it with love and compassion. So it's a hard path. That's why it's in chapter 7 and not chapter 1. um, but it is doable. It
Yeah.
really is doable that we can look at the darkest places of ourselves and be safe doing that
Mm,
and come out of it um, a little bit lighter and brighter.
yes. But I
There
can
is a
imagine.
movie.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, no, please go ahead. Sorry.
It just made me think of it. There's a movie. Um, oh my gosh, what is the name of it? Ugh, it was on the tip of my tongue. But there's a movie that this character, um, he doesn't like himself,
Mm,
and he meets a young lady that likes him, and he doesn't feel worthy. And throughout the movie, he has to keep doing these things to prove himself and prove himself to himself. He
mm.
thinks he's proving himself to her. And by the end, there's this moment where he has to kind of battle himself, like
Wow.
this like ego part of himself.
Mm,
Um, and that's kind of what shadow work is. It's almost like going in and what we in this present body, mind, soul, self, we think it's ugly or we don't like it about ourselves.
yes.
And then we go in and realize that's not really the true me, or that part of me is just scared or sad and needs a hug. um, and that again, like I said, coming at it with an open heart and love and compassion makes it not so scary. And we can't, n- again, negative things and dark things can't hurt us when we come at it with that love.
Wow. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Because I was about to ask you, like, some people could say, it's my past already. I don't want to revisit it. And what's the benefits? I mean, I'm fine and okay right now. Why should I, revisit my past or dig out what I've buried for a long time? Well, you said it already. It helps us to become better. It helps us, um, become aligned with ourselves, I guess, I believe. And also, back to the title of your book, Old Space for Our Own Healing from the things that we thought we are free from already, but it's still haunting us, or could still come back to haunt us also.
And
Yeah.
yes, and it's all time. Like we don't have to like fight all our battles at once.
Mm,
It's just that there are honestly our past will keep coming back around
mm,
until we're ready to deal with it. And it usually gets louder and louder each time. I like to say, even for me, the writing thing, even though that's not necessarily a negative,
yeah.
it kept coming around and coming around. And then at some point, it feels like somebody did that to me. And I'm like, okay, I will do it now.
Yeah.
So our past comes back around again until we're ready. So, like trauma, we can't go all the way to the bottom of the trauma
Mm,
if we're not ready. Um, just like with people who dissociate and they disconnect from something that happened to them, they have no memory of it. That is a protective defense mechanism, and that is a healthy one.
mm,
A lot of people think of it as negative, like, why can't I remember? Our body has checks and balances to protect us.
yeah.
It's the same thing with shadow work. Our body, mind, and soul will never let us go deeper than we're ready to go,
Mm,
that we're ready to handle.
yeah.
So it is scary. I'm not going to deny that. It can be scary, but when we know that that thing can't hurt us now,
Yes.
that there is a little bit more bravery in going in and dealing with it.
Mm, wow. And people that are suffering from, PTSD and anxiety, for example, could this be useful to them also, like, doing some shadow work to reduce anxiety or to, get healing from PTSD?
Um, I don't think it's great at reducing anxiety. It's not like one of those go-tos quick things. There are other things in the book and other techniques. But it is a healthy thing to move forward out of the trauma and the triggers.
Yeah.
And it's not, triggers exist possibly throughout our lives, but when we do the deeper shadow work, it has less intensity over time because we can catch ourselves in the trigger and kind of talk ourselves down from that, and like, I'm safe now. This experience is a very long time ago. It is not now. The experience I'm having right now is not threatening or as threatening. And I am safe in my body. I'm safe in my mind. I'm safe in my soul,
Mm.
and be okay.
Yes, yes. Which is also good, which is also very important, to let go of those triggers and trauma. Yes, yes.
Hmm.
But can you explain some of these techniques that could be used to reduce anxiety or to heal PTSD also that in your book?
Yes. So there are a bunch of techniques. So for someone who has anxiety or is in a trigger,
Mm.
and this is, I'm not a psychologist or social worker, but these are ones that I've used. These are ones that a lot of them use.
Yeah.
And um, it's using our five senses. So the way they like to say is name five things you see, four things you hear, and it goes on and on. But I don't like to do the number thing because then it can get more stressful. Like, I'm not hearing five things. So I just like to say use all of your senses. Look around, something that is comforting that you see, right?
Yes.
Um, listen and find something comforting that you hear. Like maybe it's a baby laughing, maybe it's a bird chirping. Something, take a deep breath in, something comforting that you smell,
Mm.
right? And maybe taste doesn't always work. Usually the smell and the taste can go together. And
Yes.
then there could be something around you that you feel. So it might be, the fabric on your shirt, or rubbing the back of your head feels comforting to you, right?
Mm.
That
Yes.
there are different things that we like to feel, or like playing with the ring, right? That
Mm.
there's different things that can be comforting. So it's about finding your comfort, because comfort is um, like a really good hug or a really warm, cozy blanket that we like, right?
Yeah.
It brings us brings things inward to feel safer,
Mm.
rather than feeling very open and exposed.
Mm.
So it's just going through the actual senses to bring yourself back, as well as breath. Like that breath that I mentioned earlier can also be used to bring yourself back in, or
Mm.
literally giving yourself a hug and just holding yourself tight as you breathe,
Yes.
to feel like I'm in my body. I'm right now, I'm safe in my body. Nobody can penetrate this. Nobody can hurt this. I'm
Yes.
okay.
Wow.
Um,
Yes. And that gives you some, assurance. And as you say, like comfort could be a form of hug. Like you feel like, yes, I am safe. I'm secure.
right. I mean,
Yes.
that's why there's these beautiful now tools that we have out in the world, like weighted blankets, or
Mm.
they have the stretchy like suits that you could wear that feels like a hug, right?
Yes.
Because these techniques really work, that they make us feel like we're hugged,
Mm.
right? And some of us may not have gotten enough hugs in childhood, and that's part of why the world feels so scary. So it is really helpful. Even your own hug to yourself um, can be comforting.
Mm. That's true. Or get a very big teddy bear and just hug it all the
Yes,
time.
yes, exactly. Or like petting your cat and your dog, like those,
Mm.
it is comforting to people. This is why it does help us bring our heart rate down and our blood pressure down,
Yeah.
because it is a sharing of compassion and love and care, like sharing space. Like
Yes.
they're
Yeah.
holding space for us when they come sit down with us when we're crying or we're, nervous or
Mm.
sick.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, from everything you shared right now already, it's enough proof to say that your book is a very wonderful tool. It's filled with so much, practical habits, practical tools that we could use to, you know, tackle all life problems, or maybe not all life problems, but the major life problems that we could be having, like, when anyone is having anxiety or PTSD, or trying to, fight some past traumas, or having some pains and having some troubles. One could just read the phrases, one could read the words, the quotes and everything, and, feel better, get that hug that you deserve, and to feel safe, and also just push forward in order to heal, and in order to love yourself even more. That's so wonderful. So once more, just as a reminder, the book's on Amazon. It's at Barnes and Nobles. Also, it's on Ingram Spark also. And you don't have to search online. You could just click on the link in the show notes of this episode and just get to Michelle's website and get all the necessary links to any outlet that is favorable to you. That would be so awesome. So I also know you are a meditation and mindful facilitator also, and I would love you to give me some tips on mindfulness. Like, can you share? In this world where we have so much of distractions and a lot of things bothering our mind or fighting for our attention, like, can you share some tips that could help us to be more mindful despite all the distractions?
Sure. Well, some of them I already shared, like that, the breathing and using our senses,
Mm,
right?
yes.
That can help with being more mindful and getting more grounded and centered. But also, doing your own closing the eyes and just using your other senses to kind of find your space in the
Mm,
world. Some people closing eyes can feel unsafe. So just kind of like lowering your eyes and just looking down at the floor and looking at one thing, or using just your eyes as your sense and focusing on something, really far away or something colorful or pleasant.
yeah.
Kind of like when women are in labor,
Mm,
it's encouraged to have a focal point. Like to do that can help you just concentrate on one thing. And that's mindfulness and meditation go hand in hand. That a lot of people think my meditation is this thing, and we imagine people sitting with their legs crossed and being really still and super zen and chill. And it's not always how it is. It could be a walk outside,
mm,
getting outside and smelling the leaves as they're changing, or the rain coming, or the grass was just mowed. Those kind of using your senses out in the world
yes.
can help with mindfulness. I actually really like moving meditation or mindfulness out in nature because nature helps us stay grounded. And
Yes.
when we're grounded, we feel safer in the world.
Mm. Is that what you refer to as nature healing in your book also?
Yes, yes.
Ah, yes, yes. That's in chapter one, I believe, somewhere up there.
Yes, yes. I'm a
Yeah.
big fan of like, yeah, I'm a tree hugger. I like to like,
Yes.
let the trees help us with grounding and um in my opinion, in energetic terms, we are somewhat like trees.
Yeah.
We need water, we need sun, we need each other, right?
Mm,
So trees have this network and they connect to each other. We do need each other. We are social beings.
that's true.
So even if we can't feel safe in a group of people or
Mm,
because of, COVID or even anxiety or trauma, we can get out in nature and be communal with the trees and the
yeah.
animals out there and things like that.
Yes. Wow. This has been so awesome. Like, I know there are a lot of people who love to, work with you, connect with you, and try to find more information or find more answers to your questions that we are not able to cover in 1 hour of this podcast episode already. So what's the best way to work and connect with you?
So I am, there's my website, of course,
Yes.
email, uh, message. I'm on Instagram as well at my Reiki Healer is a great way for anyone to get in touch with me.
Mm,
Um, that's pretty much it. And then, like you said, I want to also mention that the book is available internationally. You can pretty much ask any bookstore to order it for you. I made sure that it was available in that way
Oh,
through
that's
Ingram
good.
Spark so that you could do that. And my illustrator of the cover artist is from Germany. So
Oh, awesome.
um
That's
yeah,
awesome.
so and I actually found her on Instagram. So
Wow.
it was really a good fit. Um but yeah, you can pretty much find me anywhere. The other thing I wanted to mention is with the purchase of the book, I am offering all the meditations. There are, I think it's 9 meditations in the book, and I have the audio, I recorded them so that they could be guided meditation because I'm not a fan of reading meditations in book and trying to meditate.
Mhm,
Meditation is hard enough.
mhm,
So I recorded them so that way you could just download them and listen. You can read along if that is good for you, but to just listen so you can just enjoy it and just be. So, anyone who buys the book, if you sign up for the email list or just shoot me an email, I can send you the link to download the meditations, including you, Toby.
oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much for that. Like, I'll encourage everyone to buy the book. I'll try to get a copy of the book myself so I could also read everything in much more better and deeper details. And also, yes, get the benefits of from your life experiences and all the tools and all the um tips and yeah, wonderful insight that you've placed in the book. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this.
Thank you, Toby.